The night was cold and unforgiving as the wind howled through the desolate landscape, carrying with it a relentless snowstorm that blanketed everything in its icy grip. The Smith family, consisting of John, Sarah, and their 2 children, Emily and Daniel, were on a road trip to visit their relatives in a distant town. Little did they know that this journey would take an unexpected turn, leading them to a place that nightmares are made of. As they drove through the winding roads, the snowfall intensified, reducing visibility to almost zero. Desperation set in as John strained to keep the car on the road. The engine sputtered, and the headlights flickered, finally giving out completely. With no other choice, John guided the car to the side of the road. The only option left was to seek shelter until the storm passed. Peering through the blizzard, they spotted a foreboding structure looming in the distance. An old, dilapidated building with shattered windows and crumbling walls stood as a silent sentinel in the desolate landscape. It was an abandoned mental hospital, a relic of a dark past that sent shivers down the spines of those who had once inhabited its grim halls. With no other option, the Smith family trudged through the knee-deep snow towards the eerie structure. The creaking of the rusted gates echoed in the silent night as they entered the compound. The air inside was heavy with the weight of forgotten memories, and the floor beneath them groaned with every step. The family found refuge in a small room, huddling together for warmth as the wind howled outside. As they tried to settle in for the night, the atmosphere in the room began to change. Unsettling whispers seemed to echo from the shadows, and the temperature dropped, sending a chill through their bones. Emily, the youngest of the family, couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Her gaze darted nervously around the room, catching fleeting glimpses of shadowy figures in the corners. The air grew thick with an unspoken dread, and the family started to sense an unseen presence closing in on them. As the night wore on, strange and eerie occurrences unfolded. Doors slammed shut on their own, distant cries echoed through the hallways, and the flickering lights cast long, distorted shadows. The family, trapped in the decaying asylum, felt a growing sense of dread that clung to them like a suffocating fog. In their attempts to escape, the Smiths discovered that the once barren halls of the hospital seemed to come alive with malevolent energy. The maze-like corridors twisted and turned, leading them in circles, and the oppressive darkness seemed to play tricks on their minds. Each attempt to find an exit only plunged them deeper into the heart of the asylum's haunted history. The family members started to experience vivid and disturbing visions. Shadows danced on the walls, revealing tortured souls and twisted faces that seemed to beckon them into the abyss. The very essence of the asylum absorbed their fears and projected them back with a haunting intensity that threatened to shatter their sanity. As the snowstorm raged on outside, the Smiths realized that the abandoned mental hospital held a dark secret. The spirits of those who had suffered within its walls seemed to have imprinted their anguish onto the very fabric of the building. The family was ensnared in a nightmarish realm where the past and present collided, and the line between reality and the supernatural blurred. Days turned into endless nights as the Smiths struggled to escape the clutches of the haunted asylum. The asylum seemed to feed off their fear, manifesting twisted apparitions and phantoms that tormented their every step. Sleep-deprived and on the brink of madness, the family clung to the hope that the storm outside would eventually subside, allowing them to break free from the malevolent grip of the abandoned mental hospital. But as the snowstorm continued to rage on, the Smith family's hopes dwindled. Trapped in a nightmare they couldn't escape, they became mere pawns in the twisted game played by the lingering spirits of the asylum. The once solid bonds of family unity began to fray as fear and paranoia seeped into their hearts. In the cold, dimly lit corridors, the Smiths pressed on, driven by a desperate need for survival. Shadows clung to their every move, and the air resonated with the anguished wails of the past. It became apparent that the asylum's dark history was intertwined with their own fate, and escaping its clutches would require confronting the ghosts that haunted both the building and their own troubled souls. As the family delved deeper into the bowels of the asylum, they uncovered long-buried secrets and atrocities committed within its walls. The tortured spirits sought retribution, and the Smiths found themselves entangled in a web of vengeful apparitions determined to share the weight of their suffering. The once cold corridors now pulsated with an otherworldly energy, and the family faced manifestations of their deepest fears. Each member was forced to confront personal demons, reliving traumas and confronting sins they had long buried in the recesses of their minds. The lines between the living and the dead blurred further as the asylum's malevolence exploited the vulnerabilities of their fractured psyches. In the heart of the asylum, a chamber held a portal to the darkest recesses of the past. The Smiths, guided by the whispers of tormented souls, stumbled upon this gateway to the ethereal realm. Reluctantly, they stepped through, finding themselves in a surreal landscape that mirrored the twisted history of the mental hospital. The spirits, now materialized in spectral forms, surrounded the family, their anguished faces pleading for redemption. The Smiths, caught between the living and the dead, were confronted with a choice: to succumb to the haunting darkness or to confront their fears and break free from the spectral grasp of the asylum. In a final, desperate attempt, the family faced the malevolent force that bound them to the haunted halls. Each member drew strength from the others, forming a united front against the oppressive energy that sought to consume their souls. With newfound resolve, they confronted the spirits and offered solace to the tormented souls trapped in the asylum's grasp. As the family reached out with empathy and understanding, the haunting visions began to dissipate. The asylum's grip loosened, and the twisted apparitions gradually faded away. The once oppressive atmosphere lifted, and the air felt lighter as the storm outside began to subside. With a collective sigh of relief, the Smith family found themselves back in the small room where their nightmarish journey had begun. The asylum, now devoid of its malevolent presence, stood silent and still. The family, though physically exhausted, felt a profound sense of catharsis and unity. As they stepped out into the aftermath of the snowstorm, the first rays of dawn pierced through the clouds, casting a warm glow over the desolate landscape. The once ominous mental hospital, now a mere relic of the past, stood as a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. The Smiths, forever changed by their harrowing experience, drove away from the abandoned asylum, leaving the haunting echoes of the past behind. The road ahead stretched out before them, bathed in the soft light of a new day. Yet, the memories of that fateful night lingered, a chilling reminder that some horrors are not confined to the shadows of the past but are etched into the very fabric of one's existence. The family, scarred yet strengthened by their encounter with the supernatural, carried the weight of the asylum's history with them as they continued their journey. However, the horror was far from over. As the Smiths drove through the winding roads, the atmosphere in the car remained tense. Unspoken fears and lingering doubts festered, and the once unbreakable bonds of family unity now bore the cracks of the supernatural ordeal. The haunting whispers of the asylum seemed to echo in their minds, a constant reminder that the darkness they had faced was not easily forgotten. Days turned into weeks, and the trauma of that night cast a shadow over their everyday lives. Nightmares plagued their sleep, and the memories of the spectral entities and twisted apparitions refused to fade. Each family member struggled to find a sense of normalcy, haunted by the residual echoes of the abandoned mental hospital. Soon, subtle changes in their behavior became apparent. Emily, once an outgoing and carefree child, withdrew into herself, her eyes betraying a profound sadness that no one could fully understand. Daniel, usually the beacon of optimism, now carried a solemn expression, as if burdened by secrets too heavy to share. John and Sarah, though they tried to maintain a facade of strength, couldn't escape the persistent unease that lingered in the air. As the Smith family grappled with the aftermath of their nightmarish encounter, they found themselves inexplicably drawn back to the memories of the asylum. Strange occurrences continued to unfold around them, flickering lights, distant whispers, and fleeting shadows that seemed to follow them wherever they went. The boundary between the supernatural and the real world blurred, leaving them uncertain about what was a lingering spectral presence and what was merely the product of their frayed nerves. Desperation took hold as the family sought answers. They delved into research about the history of the abandoned mental hospital, hoping to find clues that would unravel the mysteries that still clung to them. In the process, they discovered tales of dark experiments, patient mistreatment, and the restless spirits of those who had suffered within its walls. Determined to break free from the spectral chains that bound them, the Smiths decided to revisit the asylum, hoping to find closure and put an end to the supernatural torment that followed them. As they entered the forsaken building once more, the air grew thick with anticipation, and the shadows seemed to whisper secrets that only the bravest could decipher. The family navigated the labyrinthine corridors, retracing their steps from that fateful night. The asylum, now devoid of its malevolent energy, stood eerily quiet, as if waiting for the Smiths to unravel the final chapters of its haunting history. Room by room, they uncovered forgotten tales of anguish and despair, facing the residual echoes of the past head-on. In the heart of the asylum, the family discovered a hidden chamber that had eluded them during their first encounter. The walls were adorned with faded drawings and messages, the desperate pleas of the tormented souls seeking release. Among the chilling revelations, they found a mysterious journal that detailed the experiences of a former nurse who had witnessed the asylum's descent into darkness. As they delved deeper into the nurse's accounts, a chilling realization dawned upon them. The supernatural forces that had ensnared them were not merely random entities, but the echoes of specific individuals who had suffered the most within the asylum's walls. The family was chosen not by chance, but by the malevolent energy seeking redemption for the forgotten souls. Armed with this newfound knowledge, the Smiths felt a surge of empathy for the spirits that lingered in the asylum. They realized that the only way to break free from the haunting echoes was to confront the pain and suffering that had seeped into the building's very foundation. As they immersed themselves in the harrowing tales of the past, the boundaries between the living and the dead blurred once more. The family's journey took an unexpected turn as they became conduits for the release of the tormented spirits. Through an agonizing process of reliving the traumatic experiences of the past, the Smiths served as vessels for the spirits to communicate their pain and find a semblance of peace. Each member, in turn, bore the weight of the asylum's history, allowing the spectral entities to finally express their anguish and be set free. The air in the asylum shifted, and the oppressive energy that once gripped the family began to dissipate. The flickering lights steadied, and the once distorted shadows faded away. The Smiths, drained yet fulfilled, emerged from the asylum, leaving behind the echoes of the past. As they stepped into the cold night air, a profound stillness settled over the landscape. The snow, once a symbol of isolation and despair, now sparkled in the moonlight, casting a serene glow over the abandoned mental hospital. The family, forever changed by their encounter with the supernatural, walked away from the haunting asylum with a newfound understanding of the fragility of the human spirit and the enduring power of empathy in the face of unspeakable horrors. The Smith family, having confronted the haunting past of the abandoned mental hospital, drove away from the desolate landscape with a mixture of exhaustion and relief. The weight that had burdened them since that fateful night began to lift, replaced by a newfound sense of closure and understanding. The road ahead, though uncertain, held the promise of healing and recovery. Days turned into weeks, and the lingering effects of their supernatural ordeal slowly faded. The nightmares that had haunted their sleep began to subside, and the shadows that had trailed them dissipated. Emily's laughter returned, and Daniel's optimism brightened once more. John and Sarah, though forever marked by the experience, found solace in the resilience of their family bonds. Life gradually resumed its normal rhythm, and the Smiths learned to appreciate the simple joys that had once been taken for granted. The memories of the abandoned asylum became a distant echo, a testament to their strength and unity in the face of unimaginable adversity. Yet, the family remained vigilant, understanding that the line between the living and the supernatural was thin, and the scars of the past could resurface unexpectedly. As seasons changed and time moved forward, the Smiths carried the lessons learned from that haunted night, fostering a deeper appreciation for the fragility of life and the importance of compassion in the face of darkness. The abandoned mental hospital, now free from the malevolent energy that had tethered it to the past, stood as a silent witness to the resilience of the Smith family. The echoes of anguish that had once permeated its walls were replaced by an eerie stillness, and nature began to reclaim the decaying structure. In the years that followed, stories circulated among the locals about the Smiths' encounter with the supernatural and their triumph over the haunting forces of the abandoned asylum. Some dismissed it as mere folklore, while others believed it to be a cautionary tale about the consequences of neglect and cruelty. The Smith family, however, carried the memories of that harrowing night with them, forever changed by the ethereal journey they had undertaken. As they drove away from the once menacing asylum, they left behind a chapter of their lives that would be etched in their collective memory, a testament to the enduring power of love, courage, and empathy in the face of the unknown. The road stretched out before them, winding through the ever-changing landscape, and as the Smiths continued their journey, they embraced the uncertainty of the future, knowing that they had faced the darkest depths and emerged stronger on the other side. The abandoned mental hospital, now a relic of the past, faded into the distance, its haunting legacy replaced by the resilient spirit of a family that had weathered the storm, both natural and supernatural.
Like, subscribe, and click on notifications that will allow you to stay up to date with the news and not miss videos from the channel, where there will be many more horror stories.